And he gonna just put me barely.
Okay.
That's what it is, huh?
Zero
Is
days.
that for Stewart or everybody?
Okay.
He need to talk about roads, don't we?
Yeah, these for us. Oh, I thought we were ready.
Won the first set.
On the first day.
The first set. Oh, like who else? Up to the lead after that.
So leave. Just a try match today.
Primax today.
No, that's what Mike said. I told him, I said, they're taking turns.
Those are the sheep shears.
Oh, my toe still hurts. If it's for it's just for
Oh, okay, thank you.
But you know, my MP cup, I thought I was dropping it in my bag.
Julie,
And I was
won
standing
the
like
first
this.
set. I want you to say we won the first set. I don't know, not the game yet.
Good. I'm going right after. Are you going back?
1 minute.
Man, nobody's ever doubted you,
If we get out.
ever.
You know what day this is? The 20th what? September.
But you never.
But you're not early.
Yeah.
Well, a half a minute early.
15 seconds.
He already said that, he's coming right?
I really did.
I know you do.
I was sweating square. Let's call this meeting to order. It's 5:30. Let's stand for the invocation, please. Bow your heads if you would. Eternal God in heaven, we thank you for all things, Lord. We thank you for the weather. We thank you for life itself. God, help us make the decision that you see fit, that glorify you in all things, God. We ask all this in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, looking to motion to approve the agenda.
Motion that we approve the agenda. Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Murray and Mr. Doster. All those in favor? Unanimous. Alrighty, we got some wonderful recognitions. Dr. Finch?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We do not have school or faculty and staff recognitions, but we do have a friend of education. And so I will call Ms. Alicia Elder to the podium, and she will begin that presentation for tonight.
Good evening. This evening, it is my privilege to honor DK Design. So if Drew and Kim Winters, if you could please come forward. You just stand next to me. We are recognizing Drew and Kim Winters and DK Designs as a true friend of education. Kim, a former Monroe County Schools teacher, and Drew have built a business that continues to give back generously to the schools and community they love. From teacher appreciation gifts and educator discounts to fundraisers at all schools, their artwork has been more than just beautiful. It has been a gift that supports students and staff alike. DK Designs has also sponsored our band programs and gone above and beyond by donating 100% of their proceeds for band fundraisers, ensuring that every dollar raised goes directly to our students. Drew and Kim's commitment is a reminder that education is strengthened not only in classrooms, but also by the businesses and community members who choose to invest in our schools. Their generosity has touched teachers, students, and families across Monroe County. We are extremely grateful for their dedication and their heart for education. This evening, we are proud to recognize DK Designs as Monroe County Schools Friend of Education. And we have a copy of the write-up, and then we have a framed picture of the Board of Education for you to place in your business.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
It means the world.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Come on, we'll take some pictures.
Kiddos.
whenever you want to.
We'll take you. Stand right here and sit. Y'all together. Let's turn around.
You go back.
Alicia.
Told you they do pictures. They came straight from band. Okay.
We catch a lot of things like that.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, my turn. Big smiles.
We good?
Thank y'all so much. Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank y'all. Thank you very much. All right, next thing on the agenda, we got consent items.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we have fundraiser request, field trip request, and then the board meeting minutes. Fundraiser requests are normal for August and September. You can see there are a lot of them, mostly at the high school level. And so you're actually already getting into some spring activities, so a lot of people getting their products out there and their fundraising efforts out there, so we don't have a lot of overlap at all, and so those dates have been checked and look to be good and in order. And then I think we only have 2 field trip requests, but of course they're overnight. One of them is the overseas trip that Christy Calhoun and her group take at Mary Persons, and the time for that is in June of 2027, and then we have a competition at Universal Studios with the middle school band, and that's in April. And then we only had 1 board meeting in the month of August, and that was your August 12th meeting, and we asked that all of those be approved at this time as consent items.
For a motion.
I move all the consent items be approved.
All right.
The second.
Second by Ms. Battle. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. And superintendent's report, please.
All right, superintendent's report is again, this is something that we do every September when the enrollments and withdrawals have stabilized, and so we wanted to give our board members an update on where we are. You can see those numbers as they go across and kind of the change that you see. I will try to amplify some of these numbers and clarify some of them. Our largest cohort in the history of our school system is sitting in the 6th grade, okay? So they left their 5th grade assignments in those elementary schools, and they all went into the middle school. So, and just to clarify, we have another large grade level that's sitting at around 390. That's the 10th grade. And in the 6th grade now, unfortunately, they're separated by 4 years, so they won't be in a facility themselves together. But the 6th grade has contributed mightily to our increase in teachers at the middle school and our loss of space at the middle school. So the other...
How many in the 6th grade?
There were 429 at last count. And at one time, the 10th grade as 6th graders was at 407, but they've actually dropped down below 400 now that they're in the 10th grade. And so we do have a little link here that we utilize as internal staff members, and what we have is we have 2 tabs here. You can see new to MCS and then withdrawals, and so we don't ever look at 3K, pre-K, and kindergarten because those numbers can be volatile, but oftentimes what I'll do is I'll drag these numbers over here and say, you know, if I'm looking at this, I go, well, you know, we've had 281 new students, but that doesn't mean that all 281 we haven't lost anybody. So, you know, I go to withdrawals. Now, I don't ever count the 12th graders because you have a natural withdrawal at the 12th grade. It's called graduation. So I do go and look, though, at 1st grade through 11th grade, and we lost 213, okay? So gaining 281, losing 213, we're still on the plus side. And then you can see where their grade distribution and how they've been entered in and what school level that they've done that in. So just an internal document that we use. And then one other thing that I wanted to be able to show you, this is a slide that I use. I've been going to a couple of civic organizations and internal meetings about eSplosh, and this is a slide that I use whenever I do that presentation. And so I just want y'all to see this, so if someone were to ask, man, I didn't know there was 1,376 kids at Mary Persons now, you can say, well, you know, we just talked about that. Or now, one thing that I just want to caution y'all, don't get these numbers and add them all the way up, because they won't total 4,769. We have some duplicate students who may actually be on KB Sutton's roster, but they get served some at Hubbard Elementary and vice versa. But they utilize classroom space at all of those facilities, so we have to kind of count them twice when it comes to facility space and instructional use. But when it comes to actual warm bodies, we count them twice, obviously. Okay, so if you added up all those numbers, it'd be over 4,800. But our total enrollment is 4,769. That's the most up-to-date numbers that we have. And just kind of reminder, from just 5 years ago, we were sitting at 4,188, so close to 600 students there in the growth. And then we just attached this document as well. This is something that Ms. Elder manages on the inside, and we just started collecting a lot of our staff highlights and achievements, and on the student side, we link it here. It is linked as a PDF here, so it won't be a live document. So as it's updated, we'll need to make sure that you're updated on it as well. You know, from time to time, I may send something out like this in a Friday update email to board members from there. So, Mr. Chairman, that's the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Finch. We didn't have any public participation, and next thing we have up is organizational effectiveness. Financial report, Mr. Johnson, would you like to present, please?
All right, good evening. Just like last month, the numbers are a little small than what we're used to, and because we're still accruing numbers back to the previous fiscal year, because we earned the money or we owed the money in the prior year. Like most of our teacher salaries, that the cash goes out in August, but it was for last year, so it gets accrued back to the previous year. But if you take note, compared to last year, we're right where we need to be for, 2 months into the school year already. Doing pretty well. Next page is our capital projects. And if you'll look at that SPLOST line, we brought in $796,000 in SPLOST for August. That is our second highest monthly collection for this cycle. We had one in January of 2024. I still cannot explain it, but it was over 900,000. So basically, we're averaging about 659,000 per month for this cycle so far. So we're well within our budget there. And then finally, our federal funds. A lot of our grants at the state level still have not been approved, but we are spending the money. As soon as those grants get approved by the state board, which is generally September, October is when they really start getting approved, and we'll start drawing money down to eliminate this deficit here. So, any questions? All right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chris. Next thing we have is facilities and grants. Mr. Flanders.
Good evening, board members. First thing we want to talk about tonight is the field house and stadium improvements. Stadium, of course, is complete at this point. The steel work on the field house is it's over 95% complete. We got a few little small pieces they're putting up in places. The block walls, you can see they're continuing to go up. We'll show you some pictures in a minute. The trusses on top of the building are, they were almost done when I wrote this last week, to prepare for, board agenda review. However, they're just completely done now on top of the building, and the full plaza drawings, completed. Paris will be able to give us a final price on the project now that we have, those 100% plans done. So, it's actually out right now to get, pricing back. They're working on it as we speak. The T.G. Scott driveway, this is a much anticipated project, and we're very excited to be able to use our SPOS dollars for this, but the trees have been cleared all the way from Thornton Road, back to the current driveway at the school where it comes in right before you turn to the right currently. It's all cleared out, gravel's been laid down out there, curbing's going up. It looks really good out there. I got a chance to go back in there and look at it a little bit today for the first time, actually on the road, and it's just very impressive. New Mary Parsons High School, sort of right now it's on hold while we continue to get the rest of the studies done. Concept drawings have been provided. They're working on the final drawings. They should be ready in the spring next year. Then finally, the Hubbard HVAC roof project. SP Designs provided a cost estimate for replacing the HVAC at Hubbard Elementary. The number we got is somewhere in the $2.3 million range. Application for $946,000 from Godot has been submitted, and a recommendation for accepting the state funding application will be made by administration in just a few minutes. And that's what I have on the facilities and grants report. The only other grant that's out there is the Safer Georgia Schools Cybersecurity Grant, and that's in a holding pattern until we can get to year 2 money and expend those money down and complete those tasks associated with that grant.
All right, any questions for anybody?
Well, I've got some construction photos you can look at, and the first one, me and Mr. Sanders were able to go into the weight room with Parish representatives a couple of weeks ago, and this is what, or into the field house. This is a view of what the weight room looks like from the bottom floor of that facility. You can kind of see, it's got that 2-story open area to it, and the steps that are in there. Coming down, you can see, we always tell you about checking out the facility from the back. You can kind of always see it from the front, from this side. But back from the back, that's what it looks like now. You can see all the floors there, all the way from the bottom, where you can walk out to the practice field, all the way to the top, where those new trusses are. And you can see where they've been completed. Coming down, you can see what the trusses looked like when they were going up. They were just sort of empty shell, still tubing iron, and that's been put together all the way across there and filled in. And then the next view, this is what it looks like from the 3rd floor as you look back out towards the current field house and the Board of Education out over the field, so you can kind of see what that looks like there. And I took a picture at night at our ball game that we had a couple of weeks ago, one against Butler, and that's what it sort of looks like in the evening time, looking back over there. Of course, it was prior to being finished. This is the road. This is from, if you're on Thornton Road and you're looking back into this driveway, this is what it looks like from Thornton Road. And as you come down to the next picture, you'll be able to see as you go back, this is sort of the long stretch. The ag facilities on the left here. You can see on the right side of the picture where the curbing is going in. Significant amount of curbing is going down that right-hand side, almost all the way back up to Thornton Road, all the way through the project. And this is after you loop around and turn back out, you can see what it looks like. This is basically from the current driveway at T.G. Scott looking back down the road. You can sort of see what that looks like, and you can see how much progress they've made in the ag center. Again, is on the right in this picture where we turned it around viewpoint-wise. But those are some of the construction facility updates for tonight. Entertain any questions y'all might have.
Looks like they're moving right along with that. That's good.
Yes, sir.
Good deal.
Next up, we've got a,
Hold on a second before you go to that, Mr. Flanders. Just wanna, we captured what the current East Bluffs projects are right there in this portion of the assembly that you can always come back and see. Now they put a timeline of December of 2025. They seem to be ahead of schedule, and that's what they told us. So we may have that driveway utilized before December, and that would be a good thing. football field house is, got a completion date of March 2026, and we're hoping that maybe we'll be able to have some student weightlifting going on in there for 4 to 9 weeks. The entrance plaza, we're still working on final numbers for those, but that is scheduled for a demo on December the 20th, and is scheduled for completion before graduation 2026. So the entrance plaza will be ready. And then these are the summer capital projects that we're gonna lead into, and I'm gonna let Mr. Flanders kind of talk about those, but they have an end date of summer 2026. And so a lot of stuff going across the district, and just wanna make sure that we couch these items from time to time to make sure that we're summarizing what actually is going on, so you can be informed as much as possible. So go ahead, Mr. Flanders.
So we've got 2 projects we're asking for approval to price out tonight. The first one, and actually that's to go out and find a contractor and let them price it out fully through a bid process. But we've got to add HVAC to Hubbard. So I'm going to show you some pictures about the current HVAC situation at Hubbard. Again, remember these units are original to the school in 1993. So that'll come up later as we talk about the cost of it and how we can actually help pay for this project a little bit, so it won't be quite as much of an outlay as it might appear on the surface. So with this, that's Hubbard, as you can see, and this is one of the units that's on top of it. Now, Mr. Head, you're in the air conditioning business, and you can probably tell us that this is not what units look like today. But this is a current unit on top of Hubbard Elementary School right now.
I'm surprised it's still running.
Yes, sir. We're very fortunate so far. This is our control system right here, an auto matrix system, which again is very outdated technology, as you can tell by the floppy disk that runs it. You can see inside here, in this little section right here, this is where the floppy disk is inserted to run the controls. So this is a need we feel like we have as a district. So as part of this, we're asking, it's going to cost approximately, this is an estimate, $1.3 million to replace all the rooftop units out there. This price is not just for the units, but also going to take care of the ductwork. So it's going to clean the existing metal ductwork out and make sure it's freshened up. And then we get new soft ductwork coming down from the hard ductwork into the individual classrooms. Those pieces will be replaced. So that's including the $1.3 million. We need an updated control system. So previously we've been using integrated control systems in on our modern units that we put at different schools. We've got those systems at KB and also at the middle school. That's going to run architect estimate price $470,000 for that control system. And then replacing the ceiling grid and tiles. The ceiling grid's been in there since the early 90s. We need to make sure that from the roof leaks, they replace new tiles. So you got some tiles that are just a hair brighter than other tiles in there. But going ahead and replacing all the tiles so you have a brand new ceiling there, and that part of the cost is running about $410,000. So estimated project is 2.2 to 2.4 million on this. And then you'll have a school that's got a brand new roof, brand new HVAC units, and it'll have a new ceiling in that building. Now, that's a good bit of money, but the state's willing to give us $946,000 of our entitlement funding for capital outlay to help offset the cost of this project. So you can see you're cutting $1 million almost off the top initially. And then additionally, you can save up to $110,000 per year on energy rates. So this project will be cost neutral in 13 years. And of course, as energy rates go up, that's going to increase the amount of savings you get, which will then decrease the time it takes to recoup the money we invested in this project for home.
And how many actual units, Mr. Flanders, are they going to actually be saving?
10 rooftop units.
10. Is that 110 just because the units are more efficient?
They're much more efficient than the older unit, yes, sir.
Makes sense.
So these lasted 22 years, it sounds like.
They made it 32 so far.
32 years.
I'm praying for 33.
How about these? Do the new ones have like what's the life expectancy on them?
The state gives you money for a new unit after 10 years, you start earning more money to replace that rooftop unit. So realistically, you would expect a 20-year lifespan on it, but you're losing efficiency after 10 years. And that's why the state starts giving you money after 10 years. They give you money for a roof after 20 years, so they're expecting a roof to be out of things, they feel like. All right, the next project we're gonna talk about is the Monroe County Middle School roof project. This school is 1 year older than Hubbard. However, the majority of its roof is also 1 year older than Hubbard. And we just replaced that roof.
Roof is versus the.
And I chose this picture strategically. You can see right here, anybody that looks at it, these are the new sections where we added 4 classrooms on each wing. And those classrooms have a nice brand new roof. And you can see it. And then you can see this older structure of the roof in the middle that's just worn out. It's gonna be 34 years old if y'all approve this project. Next summer we'll replace it. Luckily, it's held up better than what Hubbard held up, but it's just a matter of time before it starts having large leaks in it as well every time it rains, and we would rather avoid that, just go ahead and get it replaced, so these kids don't have to worry about going through that before we replace it. So, just some samples from the roof. This is some gutter work up top where it's just been damaged over time. There's potentially to be some hail damage, but also just where it just wears thin for people walking on the roof to repair stuff all the time. You can see where you've got a little pitting going on there. This is a larger section where it's already been repaired once, but they didn't put the gravel back. A lot of times they don't, and you can kind of see that there. This is an area where there's an exhaust fan and it caught a leak, and so they had to pull that back up and tar it. Here's another section where you can see it's just the gravel that's supposed to protect this roof and this built-up roofing system. It's starting to wear very thin. This is another exhaust area. It's just had to be worked on, but it's just still, it's got to be replaced. This is actually the bus canopy, and you can see that the bus canopies out here are even having some roofing damage, and so you're under a canopy, but you could potentially get wet if that doesn't hold anymore. While we're at it, when we were Hubbard, we replaced some drainage issues. You can see here, this is a downspout, and you can see where the washout's occurring, and we need to do some things to address that washout as well. And so you'll see that pricing here. And here's another drain where you can see where you can put, pretty good bit. You can put a hand or a foot up underneath that. We need to make sure that we're addressing these drainage issues at our school, just like we did at Hubbard when we replaced the roof last year. So,
Like those angled gutters.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, for a roof replacement with modified bitumen and new gutters is gonna be 2.1. The reason I say that's we wanna match the current roof style that's already on the new parts, because we don't wanna tear that up and replace it. Additionally, the drainage improvements, will run about $300,000 to tie those gutters into downspouts and run it out. Architect estimates. So on this project, you're talking about $2.6 million. There is no offset money on this project from the state. We use that money to build those extra classrooms onto the middle school a few years ago. So this would be one that we have to foot completely out of SPOS revenue.
So being clear, we've exhausted the state funding from Monroe County Middle School at this time. We don't earn any funding. So whereas the HVAC project at Hubbard is gonna be offset by $946,000, this won't be offset by anything because we utilized it to put those 14 classrooms on there 4 years ago.
But it's still something, guys.
Still something that's gonna have to be done.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we proceed to solicit bids for the replacement of the Samuel Hubbard Elementary School HVAC system and replacement of Monroe County Middle School roof.
Okay, you got a motion?
Second that motion.
Second by Dr. Goodwin. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank y'all.
And along the same vein, all of this stuff goes hand in hand. So, but we've got to get approval on this before it can go to the state board and be approved. So at the same time that we've made an application for this funding, a capital outlay application has to be approved at the state board level. But it will not be heard and approved at the state board level until it's approved at the local level. Because they're not gonna approve anything that a local board has not already heard and approved. And so I'll let Mr. Flanders kind of talk about the capital outlay project application for FY27.
So during the summer, we submitted a application to the state, initial application, to see if they would approve funding on the project for the HVAC at Hubbard Elementary. And they wrote back and sent us documentation that they would approve the $946,000 in entitlement that we had earned. We had to put in a certain proportion of money into that project as well, but as you can see, is $946,000, and the project's intended to cost, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.3 million. So we're gonna obviously meet our 17% of the total cost obligation the state wants us to put in. With that being the case, they're just asking that we approve a formal application for the money from the Monroe County Board of Education, so that we can receive funding for this project at our cost.
So essentially, our capital project outlay application is just applying for that $946,000.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, I move that we approve the capital outlay project application for FY '27.
All right, got a motion? Need a second? Second. Mr. Jenkins, all those approve? Unanimous. Thank you.
And to be clear, when we move on projects like this every year, there's an August 15th deadline that we have to make the state aware that we have these projects into the next fiscal year in order for it to be approved at this level, approved at their level, and then put into the governor's budget, because the governor has to be made aware that these requests have been coming in all over the state for him to even build the money into the budget as it is said there. So that's why it has all of this lead time in here, and it just seems like, you know, that we're doing so much stuff so far in advance, and it's because we have to get ahead of the governor's timeline when it comes to budget approval, and he will begin laying that out in January. And so they have to back it all the way up to August so that they can get them into all those departments. So just trying to explain that timeline a little bit better to make sure that y'all understand what we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you, Mr. Flanders.
Mr. Flanders?
Thank y'all.
Was the middle school roof a 5-year plan?
The middle school roof
It
was
was
in
a 5-year plan.
Yes.
And so what, and just to kind of reiterate, that's a very good question. We through our 5-year plan, all those things in there, you don't go step by step just in the list of items that are there. You typically want to start at the top with roof and with HVAC units, and then work yourself down to things like tile and painting and flooring after that. You don't start with the floor and you go up, you know what I'm saying? So when we try to accomplish these items, we try to capitalize on the most amount of money for the building that we're going after at that same time, but we also have to measure it with need. So we wouldn't have gone and replaced the middle school roof this past summer like we did Hubbard, because the middle school wasn't leaking like Hubbard's was. So you also have to measure it against the immediate need that you have there too. So yes, all of this was in there, but there's a lot of other stuff in there too, you know what I mean, to bring some deferred maintenance up. That's the most obvious deferred maintenance that we have right now, are the roofs and the HVAC systems, and the space problems that we have too. Yeah. All right, moving along.
Go ahead, Dr. Finch, you got a revision policy?
Yes, this is the policy that was voted on by this board as the first look, and it has to sit for 30 days. Again, this came from our 2024 legislative session, and they gave us about a 12 to 18 month lead time in order to get our acceptable use plan to match what the law says, okay? And we had a very good acceptable use plan. It almost matched 1-to-1 with what the law said, but apparently there were some other districts who may not have had an up-to-date internet acceptable use plan. And so when it goes into law, that means that they're trying to bring all schools up to the same standard from there. So, you know, it is sad, we did not hear any of these, any more feedback on this. You can see the areas in red that are gonna be replacing the areas that have been struck out. Mr. Josh Griffiths, anything else to add to that? If there's not anything else to add, then we just simply, you know, administration recommends the approval of these revisions to the policy, IFBG, internet acceptable
That we
use.
last revised it February 14, 2006. So that's 19 years ago.
19 years ago, and we had a pretty good plan then.
And we had a good plan.
Just after the mention of internet, so.
Make a motion.
All right,
Second.
got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Got another revision policy, Dr. Finch?
Yes, but this is on the front end now, so this is gonna be one of our first look opportunities here, and this is to match legislation coming out of the 2025 session, okay? So it's a little bit faster than the internet, except they give us as much lead time, but to be sure, the county commission has already matched this legislation to their policies and procedures with what they're doing with purchasing authority for specific items, most specifically here, construction-related items. And so what I'll do now is I'll turn it over. I'll turn it over to Mr. Rackley and let him go through this. Again, what we're trying to do is match legislation from our lawmakers.
And I only have a little bit to add to what Dr. Finch mentioned. You have the copy of the policy revisions in front of you, and you'll see there's only two revisions. One is, as he mentioned, where we're updating thresholds, and that's for construction and major renovation projects. Like you said, recent changes in Georgia law raised the threshold for requiring a formal RFP from $100,000 to $250,000. So basically, updating our policy keeps us compliant with Georgia law and just ensures that we continue to seek sealed bids and board approval for significant projects over and above the $250,000 threshold level. And you'll see under C, and there in front of you, the policy, it's highlighted that the only revision there under that is just all purchases of capital equipment totaling in excess of $250,000 regardless of budget approval / appropriation. And we added purchases must not be divided into smaller units in order to circumvent this policy. And that's just an addition that many boards of educations place on there, just like it says, so that you don't run multiple different basically bids in there, so that it would come in under the $250,000 threshold. But if you see, we left intact the in the first part of that paragraph, it's not touching the purchases of budgeted goods and services at the $100,000 level. That would remain intact. It's just related to the capital equipment purchases. And then the second revision, if you'll go to the last page, it's administrative leeway. And this is basically all where there's situations and time is critical. It could be, one example would be a major HVAC failure during extreme weather, something like that, damage from a storm that threatens safety. The superintendent, in this case, Dr. Finch, would have the authority to waive normal bidding requirements so repairs could move forward immediately. And in doing so, though, to be clear, the policy does require ongoing communication, so that none of that changes. But it just allows, as it says here, the superintendent may waive the above stated requirements when, in their opinion, time is of the essence due to the presence of exigent circumstances and delay would adversely impact the district. The superintendent shall advise the board when such waivers are made. And those are the only two revisions to the purchasing authority policy as it is written.
So all other items, products, goods, whatever, that is below $100,000, the administration has full rights and authority to go through with those purchases. And anything that's over 100 would always have to come before this board. The only change that is seen here is capital projects, construction projects actually have a raised limit now of $250,000. Our feedback from our legal partners and from the legislative support folks just said this was just something that started naturally occurring with government entities like county commissions, boards of education, who are seeing a rise in inflationary costs that are associated with that industry.
So this is just like replacement of equipment and goods, I mean.
Could be anything for capital outlay improvement there.
Like,
Services.
well, the budgeted goods and services, it still remains at 100,000 though. So it's anything over $100,000, then we would have to go through the RFP, the formal process, okay?
Okay.
And that process, just as a reminder, I'll just give it, this is super brief. Mr. Flanders could expound on this, but basically that includes advertising on a state procurement website, has to sit for 30 days, on our website for 30 days. You have to put it in a notice in your Board of Education lobby in a conspicuous location for 30 days. It's not actually anymore required by law, but we've done so. It's advertised in the local newspaper, okay? And then basically after that, you receive the bids. Once they're received, it's scored on a rubric and you move forward in that way. All of that's done prior to coming in. Once we have all that information, then you come to the Board of Education and seek approval for the purchase.
We did talk to some other districts, and some other districts just raised everything up to $250,000. You know, we didn't feel like that's what we needed to do. One is, the more you advertise the stuff, the more competitive you seem to get on the product and the service now, okay? So, we wanted to try it this way, and just to see how much traffic we even had anyway, you know what I mean? So, and again, it's all we're doing is trying to bring our policy up to standard to match legislation created by our lawmakers in the 2025 session.
So on this administrative leeway, could you explain that one more time to me?
Sure.
That's just in a state of an emergency.
Yes, sir. It's like it says there, just in those type of
So
critical
like you
emergency
said, an air
situations.
conditioning unit going out during the summer. So
If
at that
say a
point,
tornado or something came in, and like, something happened, suddenly that we weren't prepared for, that whole entire process that I just listed that you have to go through, you can, in that case, you can, it basically gives a waiver to not go through that process where time is of an essence. It wouldn't be a situation like where Mr. Flanders has discussed with you, where there's, you can plan and the whole process behind it. This would only be in an emergency type circumstance, but it then gives leeway so that you can move forward and address a critical need in a moment of an emergency situation. That's basically what he's talking about when it says an exigent circumstance. This is something that, in doing a little research, was very common in some of the nearby districts that they have in place, and other districts when we researched it, just so that you could, like I said, address situations when time's of the essence. That's it. And again, like it says on here, the superintendent shall advise the board when such waivers are made. So obviously, the superintendent, Dr. Finch, in this case, would be an ongoing communication, and it would be in a situation where you were aware that something needed to happen quickly.
And it just gains like you a whole day or two instead of having to do a call meeting, right? So it's up to your discretion.
That's right. In case we had to move on something a little bit faster.
And a day or two is a big, of a lot, like school days,
And of course, we've never had this leeway in on ours, other districts have, so I don't even know if we would ever even utilize it.
You're kind of looking for an example, I guess.
I guess you never had, do you ever remember a situation where you could have used it?
Well, the only thing that I can remember where was on Christmas Day when we had a pipe burst over there, but it was due to extreme cold. But it wasn't like a tornado event or a hurricane event or anything like that, but it was weather related. Now fortunately, a lot of the stuff that we did over there never even exceeded the lower threshold, the $100,000 threshold. So, I think there would have to be a serious weather event or act of God or something that would even, put this part of the policy in play.
What it's doing though, when I was reading you the RFP process, it's just where that part's really waived. The board's still involved in it, but you don't have to go through all of the advertisement and so forth and all of the different areas, because that's what is the time limit of not calling a board meeting. Because you could do a call board meeting, at any time, within a day or two, but even if you called the board meeting and did so, you'd still have to go through the formal RFP process. So you would be probably a month and a half before you could move on anything, because you have to go through a sealed bid process. So it's not that you're in any way excluding the Board of Education. It just allows the superintendent leeway so that you can bypass the sealed bid process in an exigent circumstance. You're still just as involved, but it's just, you may say 45 days on something like that, not a call board meeting. Does that make sense?
Okay,
So
yeah.
you're not just saving 1 or 2 days, you may be saving 45 days
Gotcha.
or 40 days. Does that make it a little more?
Yeah.
Example I think like that, or I don't think any of our buildings actually have roof drains, but there are some commercial buildings that have roof drains. If it stopped up and you had a cave in on one side in the middle of the night, that's gonna be an emergency where you gotta get a roofer in there and replace a whole section of roof. That I could see going above 250 possibly, half of a wing of a building. But, that's the only thing, is there if needed. Let's just recommend just placing it to the public for public opinion, and that has to be voted on, does it?
Yeah, it does. Yes, I make a motion that we.
All right, all those in favor of placing this
We
on
gotta
the?
Got a motion.
Oh, you already made a motion?
Second.
I make a motion that we approve this for
Did you second?
publication.
Julie?
All right.
Did you second?
I'll
it?
second.
Second,
Okay.
all those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Dr. Finch, you.
Next, we have, Mr. Ackley staying up here. You can tell we tried to, collect all of our agenda items where if everybody had to get up and sit down, but, he is going to talk about our, millage rate.
I'll just go through this on this as a PDF, but, again, thank Dr. Finch, we're a little later in the year than we normally are. Looks like I've got it on there as a, you can just make it a little bit larger, and you can see it on your screen. But we're just a little bit later than we normally are setting the millage rate, and we've discussed kind of why that's the case. And basically, with the reversion back to the 2024 valuations, it just moved the timeline back, because as we said before, everyone has an appeal process, there's a timeline where that's concerned. And so when the original 2025 digest came out, there was a timeline with that. Then when it was reverted to the 2024 digest and valuations, you still had a timeline to where there could be appeal. So I believe that just pushed it back. And so that's where we are now. It's time for us to talk about setting a millage rate. And let me just scroll. Yeah, let me just move this forward. And because it's on there, it's looking a little, it's not looking quite as nice as I'd like to see, but you saw these numbers previously, and basically in the original reassessment of the digest on real property, it was a $258 million in inflationary increases, okay? That would have added, as we've already discussed, roughly $258,000 per meal, okay? Now, with the 2025 tax digest update, there ended up being $5.891 million in reassessment of existing real property. As you can see, that's very minimal comparatively. So it's a reduction of $253 million, okay, in property tax reevaluations, okay? And so you should have in your notebook this document right here, and it'll look easier for you to see than on here. But this is what's called a PT 32.1. And this is what is required by the state to compute the millage rollback and percentage increase in property taxes, okay? And you'll see it a good bit better on your form. But this we go in and we complete, and you'll see, if you want to keep your eyes on the, I would say the more important part of it, there in the middle, you'll see the column that says reassessment of existing real property. And that's where you see that $5.8 million, okay? When Chris and I originally completed this, the number was $258 million right there, okay? So it would have computed a different rollback rate, all right? And so now, as you'll see on there at the bottom, if you look at midway through where it says 2025 millage rate, what that does is it automatically calculates, when you plug in all of these values, the rollback millage rate. And we've been currently sitting for the past two cycles at 16.212. And if we adopt the rollback millage rate, it would be 16.171. And you'll see there, probably easier on your eyes in your notebook than up here on this, the percentage tax increase then is considered 0%, okay? In our next slide, this is the one, if you looked at our website or you saw it in the newspaper, this is the notice, okay? This is what was required, and it was in the newspaper on 2 different cycles, okay? And you'll see, it simply says, the Monroe County Board of Education does hereby announce the millage rate will be set at a meeting to be held today, and it listed the date and time. Okay, now, again, this is the required document that we have to advertise in the newspaper and online. And for 2025, you may be asking yourself, well, why is it, if it said 0% on the page prior, why does it say a 3.21% net tax increase? Because the PT 32.1, that's where you calculate inflationary increases, okay? This is just overall increase in the tax base in Monroe County, which, if you look at it, you've had new real property. So that would include new developments, that would include a new business, so it's any new real property. And if you take a real close look at it, you'll see that actually in motor vehicle tax received, it's decreased from 2024 to 2025. Mobile home values have remained pretty flat, decreased somewhat. Timber has dropped somewhat as well, okay? So while those decreased, you will notice that real and personal property increased, but that is excluding the increase in valuation. Does that make sense? I shouldn't say increase in valuation. That does not include inflationary increases. It only includes where you see new homes going up and that type thing, okay? So the 3.21% increase here is just because there's new development in the community. Does that make sense? So they're now paying taxes on a new house. They're paying taxes on a new Chick-fil-A, for example, or whatever other businesses that are here. Y'all have any questions about this at this point? At this point, Dr. Finch and Board, what we'd like to do is administration to recommend adopting the rollback millage rate of 16.171.
And before we accept those,
Yeah.
I do want to point your attention to the link that I have here in Assembly. And what we have done, this has also been shared before in maybe a Friday update, but it's done in a way to kind of support our board members whenever you are questioned on budget and millage rate talking points. And just want to, I'm not going to read this entire document to you, but the ones I want to highlight is, Monroe County has, one of the highest homestead exemptions in the state. The property values are set by another entity and not the Board of Education. There was a time for 7 consecutive years that, the millage rate was able to be rolled back. Unfortunately, when we lost a lot of our digest due to 2 entities leaving Plant Sheriff, we had about a $5.1 million hole in our budget, which would have taken probably, anywhere between 1,000, 2,000 more homes to take that over. And we've only raised the millage rate once here in 10 years. But also to understand that, health insurance, the state health insurance has increased 122% since 2018. And what that means is that we actually have the cost of health insurance is outpacing the salary for some of our employees. Okay? Meaning we paid $22,800 in health insurance for some of our employees, and some of our employees do not make $22,800. And so where those health care increases have skyrocketed, our pay scales have not skyrocketed alongside of them. And so, and part of that is because, in order to meet budget and operational costs, we haven't been able to provide salary increases. The only salary increases we've ever been able to provide are the ones that the governor puts in his budget that's coming from state funding, not from Monroe County funding. And so, and of course, we're not immune to any other inflationary costs, whether it's fuel, or whether it's electricity, or whether it's just the price of goods and services on the instructional side as well. So this is just a document that is there to kind of help, manage some of that. And then at this same time, I'm doing a lot of presentations on our East Blast efforts as well, and trying to make sure that we're advertising that. And that's another pot of money that sits outside of the general budget and the millage rate. And
It
it's-
may not
it's-
be a salary increase per se, but when you increase our contribution to health insurance and retirement, that's an overall pay increase.
And that's the other thing that I failed to mention was TRS has gone up, whereas, it's just like health insurance. The individual payer has not seen an increase in their TRS, contributions. They've not seen an increase in their health, care contributions. But on the employer side, it's gone up drastically. And so our district's the one that has to kick in that extra money. And so, I'll just give you an example. So, a TRS covered employee, and that's gonna be all your teachers, any of your certified folks, anybody that's managing and supervising, employees, the individual pays 6% of their salary into TRS. The employer, which is the district, pays over 20% for that individual. So it's not a matching plan. You know, you hear a lot of people say, well, I've got a 401k matching plan. This is a 401k triple matching plan. You know what I mean? Because by the time
It's a good deal.
it's not 12%, because if it were a matching plan, it'd just be 12%. It's actually 20%. So you would have to put in 27% as an individual just to match the effort of the employer and the individual. So it's very good for retirement, but for paying the bills right now for those folks, it's very difficult to do. And the reason that you have to do that is because you're having individuals that are living longer, that are continuing to receive TRS benefits, and you're having fewer number of employees that are coming in on the bottom side of those contributions who are helping pay out. So you gotta have just as many folks that are paying into the system as there are that's paying out. I don't really wanna go on record as saying this, but it kinda acts like a little Ponzi scheme, you know what I mean? To be clear, I'm not calling the TRS a Ponzi scheme, okay? But they need the early or the younger investors to be putting money in, and the districts to be putting the money in, so it can go out and pay the folks who have already retired.
And also, the younger people are on a lower salary.
They are.
So they're putting in a percentage, but that nets out to fewer dollars than the older people who have experience and degrees take out a higher.
That's right. So we just have a lot of those talking points on there, and again, we put that in there to make sure that you guys are staying informed and well-equipped to be able to answer some of these questions. You want to say something? Sorry.
Go ahead for the,
She's gonna make the motion.
looking at Dr. Rollback rate, 16.171 meals.
I make that motion.
All right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Unanimous.
All right. So we're skipping all the way to SO4 now, and this is an item that comes up yearly as well, and it's our local board governance annual training plan. And Ms. Alicia Elder manages that from the central office level, so I will turn it over to her.
Thank you. So each year, local school boards have to approve their annual training plan, and then it has to be sent to the Georgia Department of Education. So local board members with 1 or more years of service, we have to have 9 hours of training. So we are proposing 15 hours for this school year. So if you look at the plan, here are the 3 dates. Need your feedback on those. So what we would like to do is on October the 14th, which is a regularly scheduled board meeting day, have school visits that day. We would love for our board to go into each school and visit classrooms and do guided tours of classrooms. That is from 8 to 3 with lunch provided. And then we also contemplated on moving our board meeting up that day, the time to actually start the board meeting at 3 p.m. So we would end the actual visits around 2, and then we could have a 3 o'clock board meeting, if that works with everyone's schedule.
Good idea.
And what we're attempting to do is, last year we didn't do the classroom visits. We're looking at maybe doing this every 2 years for the classroom visits, okay? So we wanted to be able to do it this year to give y'all a time to observe classroom instruction. And then when we got done with that, immediately go ahead and start our board meeting at 3 o'clock today, instead of waiting around till 5:30.
And then on January the 13th, we are proposing 4 hours of training, from 12:30 until 4:30 with lunch provided. And that, the topics, right now, we are looking at facilities analysis and continuous improvement planning. And then on the regularly scheduled meeting at 5:30. And then on March the 10th, the same schedule, 12:30 to 4:30 with lunch provided. And that will be the meeting that we will do our code of ethics, conflict of interest, nepotism, role of school board members, and then our self-assessment.
These are all 3 regular board meeting days.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So, any questions or see any conflicts?
I think we approve our governance annual training plan.
All right, got a motion by Dr. Doster.
I'll second.
All right, second by Ms. Hoops. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Elder. All right, looks like we're gonna have a need to go into executive session.
Yes, sir. Administration recommends the board enter into executive session to discuss personnel.
All right, for a motion,
A motion.
Ms. Battle and second, Dr. Goodwin. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Working on the train tracks
Oh, yeah.
until college.
Right. Put that in the,
I wonder how long that's gonna last for somebody.
A big truck will come down.
It's gonna get
I was
knocked over,
gonna
I
say,
guarantee
they
you.
already knocked one to the
They
side.
got a pole in the middle of the road, yeah.
In the middle of the road,
Yeah,
right
right
there.
there.
Look, this is Monroe County, somebody gonna go through it.
Somebody gonna hit that thing.
It's gonna be awesome. All right, we're on.
But they gonna keep, they gonna keep the ones on the side.
I think so, and add,
And
what's
just add
the
that.
other road, yeah. All right, we're out of executive session. Dr. Finch, you wanna tell us about personnel?
All right, we'll have, Mr. Rackley come up and make the recommendation.
Sure. Administration recommends the approval of the personnel actions on the blue sheet as discussed during executive session.
I'll
All right.
make that
We
motion.
approve that, on the blue sheet.
All right,
She can make that motion.
motion by Dr.
You want
Doster,
to-
I'll
and
second.
second by Ms. Biddleback. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, board.
All right. Dr. Finch, you got some reminders?
Yeah, we have some reminders. You can see, middle school present the first student show of the season. That's on September 18th, 6 p.m. It will be a drama showcase presented by the 8th grade theater students. Then we have the Monroe County Lamb Show. That's on September 19th at the Ag Barn at 6 o'clock. The Elton John tribute at the Fine Arts Center is the next day on September 20th. Tickets are on sale now. Choirs of Married Persons and the middle school invite you to their fall concert. That's on September 22nd and the 23rd at 6 p.m. in the Fine Arts Center. Monroe County Schools will be closed for fall break, October 6th through the 10th. And then a BOE work session and school visits, like we mentioned earlier, is going to be on October 14th. And then the next regularly scheduled BOE meeting is October 14th, that same day at 3. And then just as a reminder, the East Block referendum vote is on November 4th.
Right.
Those are all the reminders.
Just to let y'all know, Married Persons volleyball and middle school volleyball are having some exciting matches. I mean, not, somebody said, I thought volleyball was boring, but even the guys enjoyed it, when your football players came. And when they came, they had a stake where the students could get in for $1, and they had a full student section. It was so good hearing all that support.
That is good. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Good
Make
deal.
a motion, we adjourn.
All right, so, motion by Ms. Biddleback, second by Mr. Jenkins. All those in favor? Unanimous.
All right, thank y'all very much.